And welcome to another edition of Two Steps Ahead podcast, encouraging you to take your passion, make it happen, and let yourself be great. I'm Son Edom, and on the show, we've got a special guest joining us. It's election season, and Sara Bertschinger is a resident of the state of Minnesota, and she has decided for some reason to throw her hat into the ring and run for state legislature in the state of Minnesota, which is an important state when it comes to not only the people of Minnesota, but also the national picture that we tend to focus on. And so, Sara, we'd like to thank you for joining us and ask, why throw your hat in the ring of the dirty business of politics?
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for giving me this experience. And yeah, so about 6 years ago, I kind of realized that, you know what, I got tired of yelling at my screen and wanted to do something positive. Instead of just complaining about what's going on outside, I need to step forward and be a positive solution to what I see is going on. So I started getting involved. I'd always been involved in church and in social ministry, but now I knew that I needed to move from an informed voter into an active voter and an active participant. So I got involved with elections, started learning and growing, figuring out how I could participate more. And it's just been such a amazing experience getting connected to people and realizing that you're not alone. So often it seems like we like to be put into this bubble or box, and we get told that your viewpoint isn't valued, and as a conservative, that you are alone. But no, actually, when I go to the doors, door knocking, when I'm talking to people, there's a lot of people that just are looking for hope and for someone to talk with. And you can visibly feel and see the relief that they feel when they're talking to someone and they realize that their viewpoint is valid and that they're not alone out there, that there is still conservative people out there. There's still people who love America and who want to work to make her all that she can be.
Now, when you talk about meeting people, what's the response like? Because it seems like there's a disconnect between elected officials and constituents. Like, I know I've lived in bigger cities, but I've never had anybody knock on my door or ask me my opinion. It's always mailers. It's always, maybe a robocall or something. And it's never face to face. I've never had an opportunity to sit and talk to someone that would be a representative of mine, whether it's the city, whether it's the state, or on a national level. When you talk to these people, how much of a difference does it make when they have an opportunity to sit there and talk directly to you versus just getting some material and things like that, some campaign stuff in the mail or robocalls or, through emails and stuff like that?
Yes, absolutely. So the one-on-one personal contact is absolutely key in every single election and in for doing a legislator to doing a good job because you can say something, it's easy to say something, but actions speak louder than words. And then when you're up there in front of someone, they can really gauge and get to know who you are and your authenticity can come through. Because it's easy to, again, just to say something on a flyer, but when you're speaking to someone, it's a lot more authentic and real, and people realize and know that it takes hard work. Because I go to doors. I think my team has been around 6,000 doors this cycle. I'm at about probably 1,500 to 2,000. I have to go check my numbers. But only about 50% of those people are home. And so you just continue to door knock, you continue to try to be available and accessible. And I think that's really key and really important because, like you said, well, there is such a disconnect. And that's why I love state politics, where you don't have, it's a big area, but at the same time, it's reasonable where you can actually go to doors, you can actually go to meet people. We just got through doing well, in the Senate district, we did about 10 town halls. And so there was five for the A side and five for the B side. And so that was our opportunity to say, hey, you know what, we're coming to your area. If you want to talk, we're here. Some people take it up and some people don't, but it's all about having that opportunity.
Now, when it comes down to it, you got to have a platform, things you believe in. You have a website, you have the signs, and people know that you are running. But what is it that you are for? What's the biggest plank in your political platform? Is it something that you decide, or is it something that you listen to the people and then you form what you're going to run on.
Mhm. Yes, so I've been involved in kind of being a citizen advocate for the last 6 years, and that's given me an opportunity to talk to people, be on the boots on the ground. And then when this position opened up, I kind of figured it's like, well, I better put my feet where my mouth is and start serving in a different way. And so to me, running is kind of like a job interview. So I put forward to the voters, this is my qualifications, this is my viewpoints, this is what I've been hearing from the district, but also you really want to put forward what your true values are because then you can fight for them and then you can stick to it. And so what I really value and what I know a lot of people in my district value, and that's how come I think I'm a good fit for the district, is that we value life, liberty, and opportunity to succeed. So valuing the life and dignity of every single individual from conception till natural birth, and then for life and then liberty. Um, I love my district because we're like, government, get out of there. Let me be my own person and leave me alone type of thing. And we just get down to work. We help our community members. We work together as a community and we go forth. And then the opportunity to succeed. There's a lot of really hardworking and entrepreneurship here in this district and across Minnesota. And so I really want to help all Minnesotans succeed and have that opportunity to succeed through economic growth or through whatever their passion leads, because it's all about equal opportunity and not forced equal outcome.
Affordability seems to be a buzzword this election cycle. People not being able to afford fuel, maybe groceries. We hear about stuff in New York City about, government owned groceries are going to be cheaper, and people kind of get excited about that because it comes down to affordability and cost. However, when it comes to the state of Minnesota and your district specifically, I'm sure there's things like taxes
Mhm.
and other financial things that are kind of outside of that affordability thing that the government imposes. So, like taxes, for example. So, when you're looking at the financial aspect of the district and the community, what are some things that maybe you'd like to see happen that maybe you can try to push for to make that affordability thing a little better for the people of your district and southeastern Minnesotans, and just try to make things so that you said the opportunity for people to be successful can increase because the government's not taking it all from us.
Yeah. Yes, good question. So a lot of that, there's kind of that's two pronged. So there's the affordability issue, but along with that, there's the fraud issue here in Minnesota. And it's been going on for years, and thankfully it's getting exposed and some exposure so that now things will be getting done. Um, so we have an affordability issue partially because of the fraud issue. And so that's causing less and less affordability. Also, our government grew about 40% during the last Democrat trifecta. And so that was done through mandates, through unfunded mandates, through increased taxes and fees, through different programs. And so that again comes back either on our property taxes or we see it in different ways. There's the gas tax. Building a house here in Minnesota is about $20,000 more expensive than building in Wisconsin. We have this mandate to be carbon free by 2040. And so along with that comes a lot of extra cost in building the infrastructure and building the different things needed to make that a possibility. And so that kind of goes into where I would really like to expand or take away the moratorium on small nuclear. So if Minnesota really wants to be carbon free, small nuclear would be the way to go. It's been experienced in Europe. There's been some studies here and there. There's been a lot of advances in reusing old nuclear waste. So that is something that would actually be a viable option versus relying solely on solar, wind, and some hydro. So that would be one thing because when travel gets expensive, when anything that costs a business money will get moved on to the consumer. And so some people think that it's the big businesses, are going to cover things, or the wealthy are going to cover it, and that never happens. It always gets passed on to the mostly the middle class, and a lot of people here in Minnesota are leaving. It's estimated that we're losing about $2 billion in income a year from people who are leaving Minnesota, and these are people who are making as minimum as $25,000 a year. They are leaving Minnesota because of the taxes here. And so that we do need to change that.
The other thing too, when you talk about the state and things like money, finance, you have the cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, which is the urban areas, and then you have the rural communities, which are farmers and maybe some cattle people and others that aren't in the cities. So obviously, there seems to be at times two different or distinct interests: those that affect the people in the city and those in the rural communities, farmers and so forth. How can you, when you get to St. Paul and you get there to try to work with people that are representative of the cities, how can you bridge the gap between what is necessary and the desires of urban folk with those that are the needs and such of the rural people, such as the people that live in your district?
Yeah, so it is interesting because if you look at a map, it's all red except for the cities, which are blue, which didn't used to be because a lot of the farmers in our area used to all be blue, and they've been switching to red because of the policies and because of the values. So about bridging the cities and the rural area, there is that there is a real divide. But the one thing that I think really unites everyone is freedom, opportunity, and family values. And so what I would like to focus on are the things that do unite us as a Minnesota, because Minnesota is an amazing place. We used to be one of the top places for education, the top three for decades. And now we've been steadily declining to, I think we're about 21st now. And so our half of our kids cannot read at grade level. They also cannot do math at grade level. So these are issues that affect the whole state, not just certain areas. So I think it'd be finding those areas that we have in common, which would be, like you said, affordability, taxes, education, and working together to try to address those issues.
Education, you talk about opportunity. I work in the education field, and I've seen many people get an education, especially adult education, whether it's college or maybe they go back and get a GED, but they get some sort of education and opportunities open for them, even opportunities that they might not think of while they're going to school. I mean, oftentimes I think back to the cell phone business. When we were in high school, people would ask, "Hey, what do you want to do?" And people would throw out ideas of what they want to do. But nobody said, "I'm going to go into the cell phone business," because it didn't exist. And all of a sudden now today, you look back and you think how crazy not to have a cell phone. And the cell phone business is a big booming business. So we don't know with technology. We don't know with the inventions and people out there creating things like Elon Musk and others. We don't know what the future is going to hold. But the one thing we do know is that education is a gateway to opportunity, which then could be a gateway to success. So when you look at education, what could you do, I guess, to try to, or how can the state come together as a legislative body to try to help get those numbers up and try to get people better educated so that they could have more opportunity out there?
Yeah, so long, it seems like we are focused on a one box fits all when it comes to education, when it comes to government planned anything. It's always one box fits all. So we need to really bring things back localized because they know what is the issues. The individual school boards know the issues of their district and they know how to affect it. And so instead of putting everything centralized, we need to bring it much more localized. And then also open up those opportunities for the kids to figure out, like, okay, what is their best learning style? What is their best learning method? What works best for the families? Minnesota's been thankfully one of the best places to be able to homeschool if they want to. And we need to keep protecting that because for some students, that is what works best for them. There's also micro schools starting, there's charter schools, there's different options. And that's wonderful because, again, not every kid learns differently. Everything is different for each family type. The other thing that I think is a big key to what is going on, and is what actually is driving lots of people, lots of Minnesotans to homeschooling, to micro schools, to their various options, is that in Minnesota we tend to be focusing on more social and more political, really, options instead of focusing on reading, writing, and arithmetic. There's this mandate that just went into place last during the trifecta of where we now have health studies, health standards, because of course there's different standards for the different areas of education. We have health standards, which sounds great, except that these health standards include using transgender dolls for preschool kids. And so it's more of, and a lot of parents that I've talked to feel like it's an indoctrination. It feels like it's putting propaganda and certain world viewpoints onto their kids that they're like, wait a second, this social stuff, this uh, social re-engineering almost is not what they're sending their kids to school for. They want to send their kids to learn to read, to write, to go back to the basics, and to just focus on education and the trades. What Minnesota also was really good at was having various options because not everyone is book smart. Some people really are amazing, like very intellectual, very wise, and they work wonderfully with their hands, with automotive, with electrical engineering, with different trade skills where you're on the job training. And so it's opening those back up and getting those available for people and expanding those. And then also, yeah, getting back to the basics, because another thing too with that was something that I spoke out against and went to the Capitol to speak on was with the social studies standards. They put in a new platform that was called ethnic studies. So again, it sounds great. It sounds like, oh, we're going to learn about culture. This is wonderful. But no, what it really does is it puts in different structures and it basically elevates certain people and by putting down other groups. So this ethnic studies standards continually divides Minnesotans into groups of predetermined people and and what I've learned is that when we focus on what divides us, there is discord, there's dysfunction, there's mistrust. But when we focus on what unites us as Minnesotans, what unites us as Americans, the positives, how to build each other up, we don't have to tear someone else down to build someone else up. So if we focus on what builds us up, then there's prosperity, there's hope, there's community, there's working together, and we start looking at character instead of outward appearance.
Sara Bertschinger joining us, running for state legislature in the state of Minnesota. Now, you're relatively new to politics, as you mentioned earlier. You probably got started getting seriously involved about 6 years ago.
Mhm.
You go to St. Paul, you get elected, you go to St. Paul. You're dealing with lifelong politicians. How do you, as I guess a newbie, how can you go in there and make an impact? Are you looking to make an impact, or how do you make an impact? What do you do going in there to, because it sounds like there's a lot of people that maybe have been there for a while, and there's a lot of established laws, a lot of established policies that need to go because you want a better opportunity, you want more freedom, you want a better Minnesota. So how do you, as somebody that might be more newer to the game of politics, go into St. Paul and try to figure out um, to deal with these lifelong, politicians?
Yes. So one thing that I've learned, and that's why for the last couple number of years I've been working to bring citizens up to the Capitol, because it's so easy to just be around this certain atmosphere that you need to get kind of a reality check. So it's wonderful when people from the district, when everyday citizens come up to the Capitol, say hi, testify, put a face to legislation and say, hey, I know all the experts are telling you this stuff, but this is how that law is going to affect me personally. This is my opinion on this. And so I would advocate for more people to come up and I would welcome people to come up. I'll give them a tour if I can. I'm bringing them along. You can come up to and join in on sessions. You can join in on the committee hearings. It's really quite a fun experience that everyone should try at least once. Also, our Capitol is absolutely beautiful, and it's made from all the materials were found here in Minnesota. So it's kind of like a history lesson going around the Capitol. Another thing that is important is that we have 4 days of legislation. So it's Monday through Thursday. Friday, we're supposed to be in district. Also, it's supposed to be a part-time legislation. Now, if we have another Democrat trifecta, they're going to try to move to full-time year-round legislation, which we do not need because we need to be back in the district to see people and to be present and available for constituents. And so Fridays are the days to come back, regain reality, go to your normal job, your get back grounded, get back to people. Also, I have an amazing prayer team. I'm so thankful for them. So they really help ground me. There's a number of people that I've met throughout the last 6 years who are down to earth, salt of the earth, have not changed, even though they've been in politics for years. So I can call them up. Also, I know they'll be watching. So if I start to get squishy, they will call me out, and I am very thankful for that. Um, the other thing that I've noticed too is that even though Minnesota's been mostly Democrat for the last couple of decades. They've been in the majority, or we've had, or two-thirds majority, or something like that. And so, a lot of these what I've noticed too is like it's not necessarily Republican against Democrat at the moment. It's Republican versus socialism. It's American versus socialism. And that's what a lot of people are realizing and joining forces. So over the last 4 years, really, all of the freshman Republicans coming on are coming on not for career politicians. They're coming on because they're like, look, it is now or never. I want to save the state for my children. I'm coming in here because God told me to. I'm coming in here because I want to bring back hope to Minnesota. And that's what a lot of people's perspective is not a career politician. It's there to really kind of clean things up and get things back to reality. And transversely, on the other side, there's a lot of woke activists who are joining on the Democrat side. So it's getting very interesting very fast, and I'm very thankful for the Capitol Prayer Network that comes up and they pray and walk around the Capitol twice a week, throughout session for sure, but also throughout the year. Also, people, again, civilians can come and set up displays at the Capitol, and I've done a couple patriotic and Christian displays, and it's just encouraging. So that's one of the reasons why I'm going up there is because I know I'm a cheerleader. I like to encourage. I like to be like, all right, let's go. Let's not give up. We only lose if we give up, so we're not giving up. I'm too stubborn to quit. And so that's one of the reasons why I'm going up there is because I want to be a cheerleader. I want to help push things forward in a positive mean.
Now, you mentioned earlier about opportunity, freedom, more family. We talked about affordability. Minnesota recently has been kind of a hotbed of activity for political news. We had obviously your governor try to run as VP for Kamala Harris in a failed attempt. You have Ilhan Omar making $30 million in a couple years and then backtracking on that. The fraud that you mentioned that was going on that was pretty significant. Um, Even like the ICE agents and the happenings that went on with ICE, even the WNBA, I guess, with this whole transgender and inclusivity or exclusivity with transitioning men and women's sports, you know, the Minnesota Lynx, the woman coach or general manager came out and said that, oh, we should have inclusion. She'd be okay with, men playing women's sports type of stuff. So there's been a lot of, I guess, polarizing news coming out of Minnesota. But when you have all that, how can you go in as a representative and try to make sense of everything, bring peace to everything, and yet reassure your constituents that we are here to not forget about you, keep that connectivity with the community, realize that, yes, we have some national things that our state is a part of, but we want to also focus on making sure that my district is being spoken for. They're not forgotten. We're not washed up in the minutia of the state politics on a national level, and keep that connectivity with the community despite all that political stuff that's been going on lately.
So most of Minnesota is actually very common sense. Most of Minnesota is not what you see in the media. Most of Minnesota is absolutely appalled by the fraud, and they're like, we would never get away with that. Why are they getting away with that for years? And then also with all of this transgender stuff, with woke politics, these are all 80-20 issues. Most of Minnesota does not agree with that. We have one of the most extreme abortion laws in the country, and that's again an 80-20 issue. Most of Minnesota does not want that extremeness. Most of Minnesota does not think that that children should be basically subjected to only one-sided therapy on transgenderism, and that we need to protect kids so that they can actually have a chance to grow up and not be kind of just swayed by basically a a fad almost, or swept up in the emotion of it all, that women deserve to be able to have equal opportunity in the sporting field. And there's been so many um, amazing, brave girls and women who have come forward and testified at the Capitol saying what happened to them when they were forced to play against males, biological males. And so we need to protect them. We've put forth legislation, but again, with where things are at legislative wise, when the Democrats got their trifecta, they saw it as a mandate to go as far left as possible. Minnesota is really 50-50. We're kind of like, or actually, I like to say we're about one third. We're one third Republican, one third Democrat, and one third independent. We really appreciate our independence and our individuality. And so, but then when the Democrats got the trifecta, they went to basically mandating or implementing all these 80% issues. So that's really not where Minnesota is, but that's where what gets portrayed in the media, in the news. And so that's why when I go to the doors, it's so much fun because real life people see that, oh, wait, the media isn't necessarily telling all the truth.
Well, it almost sounds like all those people that came over from another country during World Cup and they were responding with, hey, the news in our country had Americans as such, and this is totally not the case. We love this place. We're going to take our ranch dressing back to Europe, and it's a completely different story when you hear the truth versus a news narrative. So it sounds like when you get to actually talk to the people and they actually get to hear you, you listen to them, it sounds like then that's where the real connection is
Mhm.
made, and that's how you as a representative can really make an impact is because you have that connection to the community and they know you and you're not just a name that they vote for every couple years or whatever it is on election day.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing too that I think is of importance is the Second Amendment. You mentioned this on your website. You know the right to have guns. It's going to be an ongoing thing probably for the rest of eternity. But where do you stand? What do your constituents stand on the Second Amendment, for example, and for Americans have the right to bear arms? Because again, it goes back to also, I would think, a
Mhm.
city thing versus a rural thing. You know, in rural Minnesota, it's a completely different lifestyle. It's a completely different community. It's a completely different way of life than the cities. So,
Yep.
how does that all fit into your platform and the constituents and the state politics?
Again, I love this district because it's really salt of the earth district. And people here understand that guns are for sports, they're for fun, they're for hunting, they're for food, but most importantly, they are for a tyrannical government. They are our defense against a tyrannical government. And so people are, even if they don't use them for hunting, they are very much pro Second Amendment, pro liberty, and pro defending ourselves against a runaway government. And so, yeah, so that's definitely something that we have to watch on at the state capitol. Myself have been up there, others have been up there. We've been bringing up testifiers to the different laws that have gone through. There was a binary trigger law that got passed through this omnibus bill. So basically, the last year or the last hour of session in 2024, I think it was a 2,300 page bill got passed, and it was supposed to be like a tax bill. But all this other stuff that they didn't get through committee got shoved into this one bill and was shoved through last session, last minute. And so thankfully, even our liberal courts here in Minnesota upheld the fact that gun issues, Second Amendment issues had nothing to do with the omnibus bill title. And so it got thrown out. And so they were going through some other stuff. FMLA was also, the paid family leave was also in that big, huge omnibus bundle. And we've already seen this new government program and payroll tax completely failing. It's been in session for, or it's been implemented for the last 6 months, and it's already spent twice as much as it's taken in. and they're already going to have to increase the tax if they want it to continue. So Republicans were trying to delay it until it was ready, if not repeal it already, outright. That didn't happen. That maybe they were voted down. So that's one issue that we need to really address. And again, that's up to the voters. So if the voters send up a Republican majority, we're going to be able to repeal it and fix it. If the voters send up a Democrat majority, we're going to see our taxes, our payroll taxes increase to fund another government program or this current government program that, again, has no safeguards and no accountability to it. It's just done on the honor system if you get approved. And so yeah, it's going to be a really important year this year for Minnesotans. We are one vote away from a Democrat trifecta. We're also only 3 votes away from a Republican trifecta. So it's really up to the voters as to whose priorities they want to continue here in Minnesota.
Have you heard of any feedback from constituents or just people in the state? You look at all these, socialist people getting elected across the state, Michigan, for example, a big place. And already there were some, I guess, how it breaks down you in the Michigan race for Senate recently, the primary Democrat, you had like a Democrat, and then you had the extreme socialist. And the Democrat lost, so the extreme socialist is in. And then this Democrat supporter, now they're all saying they're going to jump ship and vote Republican, maybe because they don't want this extreme as a part of their party. I haven't seen anything that extreme pop up in Minnesota yet, outside of the Ilhan Omars and her shenanigans and the fraud and stuff. But I haven't really seen anything like that yet. Maybe you have. But is that something that Minnesotans, especially the people you talk to when you go door to door and talk to them about the future, is that something that they kind of are really afraid of? Are they aware of, or no big deal?
Yeah. So a lot of people, like I've been going to city council meetings, I've been going to town halls, I've been going to township board meetings, all sorts of places, and I really get to see a variety of people. And a number of Democrats have come up to me and they've mentioned, you know what, I finally figured it out. I'm a Democrat, I'm not a socialist. And our state leadership has really been taken over by the Socialist Party. And this St. Paul or Minneapolis, St. Uh, city council is now has a majority of self-avowed socialists. And so if anyone has a chance, you should go check out Alpha News. They do a lot of really good reporting on this issue. They're the one basically conservative news network here in Minnesota. There's a lot of good casters as well. But Alpha News has really been doing a phenomenal job of getting to the heart of the issues, and they haven't had to retract anything because they speak the truth. And so yeah, so then there's it's interesting. Someone else would be able to give you a better history lesson, but the Democrat Socialist Party of America started, or the Socialist Party of America started here in northern Minnesota, and it's from there it's kind of creeped out.
Uh, um, so that brings me to the question then about elections. Obviously, elections now are going to be the important thing that are going to either a safeguard the future of the country, because we need to have elections that are secure. We need to have only citizens vote, and there's a big fight nationally, of course, over elections. We also have seen places like California just obliterate election laws, and pretty much, they just do whatever they do until a Democrat wins. You guys are so close, like you said, 1 vote from a Democrat trifecta, 3 from a Republican trifecta. So you guys are really close in the balance. I heard something about what Alaska did, like Minnesota may want to do ranked choice voting or something like that, whatever. So elections, fair elections are a big deal right now. What can you do? What can the Republicans do? What do your constituents want when it comes to having fair elections?
Yeah. So when I'm talking to people across the board, everyone wants free, fair elections. They want it easy to vote, hard to cheat. Now you go up to the officials and things are a little different. Minnesota gives out, well, you don't need an ID here to vote. We don't even have provisional balloting, and we have same day registration. So basically, you come in And also now that the law's changed again, they want to make sure that everyone can vote, including homeless people. So all you have to do is say, hey, my tent is parked between the corner of X Street and A Street, and that's where I live. But then there's no one to check then, or they won't check until after the election if this person then went and voted in a different precinct. And so there's a lot of legal loopholes that are brings up a lot of concerns. And so um, there's basically the way when we get in charge, we can just bring a lot of common sense guidelines to make sure we have a secure the vote because people want to know that their voice and vote matters and it's not watered down by duplicate votes or fraudulent votes or foreign influence by someone who's not a citizen to vote. And when you break it down to people on the streets, it's interesting because they kind of first of all regurgitate what they've heard. It's like, oh, everyone needs to vote. If you're here, you should just be able to vote. Then it's like, well, wait a second. Um, do you think you should be able to go over to Poland and vote in their elections just because you're visiting and a tourist? They're like, well, no, of course not, because that's foreign interference. Like, how dare I try to impose my will on theirs? I'm like, well, it's the same thing here and everything. So it's like, let's ensure fair voting. And so it's just a lot of conversation and just breaking out of the what you kind of hear day in and day out. Because again, if you hear a lie long enough, you start to believe it. So it's just breaking up the narrative. The other thing too that worked against, or I spoke up against, it was kind of fun. It was the first time I spoke up at the Capitol, was on the national popular vote. So the National Popular Vote Compact is a compact amongst, and this is something the states can choose to join, or choose to take themselves out of. So it's basically saying that, hey, we're not going to follow the Electoral College. Whoever gets the national popular vote for the entire country when they vote for president, that's who all of our Electoral College votes are going to go to. So it's a way to bystep the Electoral College. And what I'm concerned about that is that that means that it waters down my voice as a Minnesotan. It's going to make people who have high popular cities like New York, Houston, LA, Chicago, all of those are the cities that are going to decide who our national leaders are. And to me, it's like that means that I don't get a voice in Minnesota. And how it is right now is that we have whoever wins Minnesota as a popular vote gets all of 10 of our electoral college votes. To me, that's even not localized enough. I would think it would be because you get your electoral votes by however many senators and representatives you have. In Minnesota, we have 8 reps. We have 2 U.S. senators because everyone has 2 U.S. senators. So to me, the popular vote should go to the 2 U.S. senators. And then you go to a popular vote within your congressional districts. So the votes stay and go along. The electoral college votes go along with who the representatives are or the senators are and how they get elected. And so it would be a much better way of kind of really localizing and hearing what the will of the people are, and not just popular cities. And so and yeah. So
Yeah,
that's
because
the voting thing. The other thing with voting is that when I'm out and about, I'm giving a lot of people just hope and encouragement because you don't have to cheat everywhere. Or I mean, there's not really cheating. It's just there's legal loopholes that are being taken advantage on that other people that make people frustrated and so some people, the whole goal is to decrease the whole goal by some individuals are to decrease Republican turnout. And so that's done through discouragement. So it's like, no, don't let them discourage you. Come out and vote, have a voice, make it too big to rig, and also bring a couple friends with you. Like 4 years ago, there was 200,000 registered Republicans who stayed home. They didn't vote. And that, if only like I think about even half of them showed up, we would have had a Republican trifecta instead of a Democrat trifecta. So we have the votes to win. It's just people need to turn out and not lose hope and make it basically too big to rig.
do people, voters, get more excited and more involved, invested, and want to turn out to vote when you go talk to them, as opposed to maybe people that just get mailers and stuff? I mean, because like I say, it's get out the vote. So how
Yep.
do you, as a candidate, you talk to them now, you've gone to these town meetings, you've met door to door, you've had the coffee shop talks and all of that. But then on election day, how do you get them out there to vote then?
Yeah. It has to be self-will. Like people have to want to participate and have to want to be have that need to be involved. So of course it's best if the candidate gets there, but the other even better is if your friend tells you to, if your friend asks you to, if your friend or a trusted advisor gets you out to vote, that's really what makes a huge difference. And so again, it's up to the people. Like it's a team effort. It's not just me. I am reliant on volunteers. I am reliant on the people in my district. Like if they want me up there, they're going to have to put me up there. And so it's again, I give that authority and encourage that power back to the constituents because you guys have more more power and voice than you realize. So when you go to the ballot box, bring 5 friends with you and start planting seeds because a lot of times it's just about planting seeds. It's about encouraging people to think about something, encouraging people to get out to vote. Here in Minnesota, unfortunately, we have like over a month of early voting, and people are just get worn out and exhausted. So a lot of people I've talked to really want to go back to one day of voting, make it a state holiday. Everyone gets ramped up about it. We can make it as patriotic as we want to, and just get people excited about it again. And that's kind of something I've been working with a nonprofit called Restore Minnesota. It's about encouraging people to be involved in civics at every level, and we it and trying to get educational opportunities in the community and in the schools and different ways of how we as citizens can be involved in civics. And it doesn't have to be consume your whole life. We can't do everything. No one can do everything. But we can all do one thing. We can all do something, whether that's being an informed voter, whether that's driving a neighbor to go who can't drive anymore to go vote, whether that's teaching or going through a constitutional class. There's so many amazing opportunities to learn about civics and be involved.
What is the biggest legislative, I guess, thing that your constituents are most important to them? And is that something that you can pick up and fight for on your own? Or do things of interest for your constituents, for example, does it require maybe another district to also have that same interest? So then the two representatives can team up and work, and then maybe you get a third one and you build like a collective that way? Or can you, as a person, as a elected representative from your district, can you go and make change on your own?
Yeah, so to get things passed, you do need enough votes. And so there is a lot of collaboration throughout areas, throughout government, in general. And so what's kind of fun is that up at the House, they do have various caucuses. There's the two major party caucuses, the Republican and the Democrat, but they have the rural caucus, they have I'm losing I'm blanking on some of the other ones. The ones that I know the most about is the Rural Caucus. Oh, and there's like the Liberty Caucus. And so there's various caucuses, and they focus on those specific issues and how they can promote those issues from where they are.
So then they would want somebody to represent them that is personable, that can get along with people, that can have conversation with people, that can understand, which sounds like it's perfect for you because you have all those personality traits that someone as a representative would want, because then you can go to the state capitol, you can talk to people, you can understand and build consensus so that you can start to move forward on some of these things. So it sounds like, if the people do decide to select you, it would be the best candidate because you have all those non-political traits, so to speak, that would make you a good candidate, I would feel.
Well, thank you. I would agree.
Is there
I love
anything, yeah, anything else that maybe we haven't touched on that perhaps you'd like to mention or bring up that you would want people to know about you, about what you would do, how you would represent them, those type of things?
Yes, I think that we've had it so good in America for so long that our common thing is just to kind of like, all right, we elect people that are to represent us, and then we can wash our hands of that. Well, that's not really how this government was made up. There's kind of, we're made up of the people, by the people, for the people. That means that we, the people, need to be involved and engaged, and giving our input, our feedback, and just have our kind of hands on the table. It doesn't necessarily mean federal or state. It starts local, at the local school board, the local city council. There's plenty of boards that you can join. And so again, that's what I mean. It's like you can't do everything, but you can do something. So sometimes sitting on like the library board, or the planning committee board, or the finance board of your local municipality or township really makes a huge difference because they're always like everyone's always looking for volunteers. And if we want our government to run, we need a lot of our government runs off of small stipends and volunteerism. And so there's plenty of ways to get involved and be a part of the solution. And the more you get involved, the more you learn and the more you get connected. And it's just a lot of fun to see and to grow and to move. And then the other things is that John Adams, I think, said that our Constitution and our government was made for a moral society and is wholly inadequate to any other. And that's what we really see with this fraud epidemic here in Minnesota. That's like, okay, whose morality do we want to follow? Also, that's what we see with a lot of these woke issues going on. Again, whose morality do we want to follow? We've kind of, for the longest time, had a set of constitutional faith of Judeo-Christian values, of biblical principles for truth, justice, individuality, hard work, and community, where we are all individuals, but we're working together as a community because we have love for each other. But now we're seeing, at least in the Minnesota State Capitol during the Democrat trifecta, that it's much more of a morality based around secular humanism and where truth is relative. So again, the voters have an important question: whose morality, whose worldview do we want to elect into office? And that's at the federal, the state, and the local as well.
And then the final question, which I like to ask people, especially people that have a faith, how does your faith work into all this? How did obviously I would imagine it took some prayer to consider running for office. Probably takes a lot of prayer for strength to deal with all the stuff that comes with running for office. I would imagine it's going to take a lot of prayer and faith in God to, when you get there, to handle the job. So where does your faith fit into all of this?
Absolutely. So again, we are all sinners saved by grace, me being the one of them. No one is perfect, and I pray daily for discernment, for wisdom, for peace, and for knowing how to handle things. Because again, in politics, you can't take anything personally. There's the person, there's the policy, there's the platform, and sometimes it's a great person, love getting along with them, however, do not agree with their platform or their policies. And then the other times I don't usually agree with their platform or the policies, but sometimes maybe there's something we agree on. So it's or sometimes you agree with their platform policies but don't really appreciate their personalities. So it's very interesting, and so you just have to I mean you just have to learn to have a thick skin, don't take anything personally. But then what the faith comes in is that again, you don't always have to agree with someone to love them. And I think that's kind of a lie that's going around society today that says that if we disagree with you, we hate you. It's like, no, I love you as a person, may disagree with you vehemently, but you are as an individual and worthy of God's love. Um, and so I'm thankful for the amount of Christian influence and groups that come to the Capitol on a daily, weekly, monthly business and really bring the light of the gospel to those halls. It can get really dark and heavy very fast. And so I'm very thankful for the Bible studies, the prayer groups, the rallies, for people who work so tirelessly to put those on. I've helped with put on a number of them, and I see just it's been so fun being a part of it, and I look forward to continuing to be a part of it.
Where can we find information? Websites, social media? What are the places people can stop and check out more and see you in action?
Yes, so I'm pretty active on Facebook at Sara Bertschinger for House. And then on my website, it's Bertschinger for House.com.
And people can find out more about you. They
Yeah.
can donate. They can get updates, maybe sign up for mailing updates and things like that, emails and stuff. So, great place, great resource for information. And then for those that might not know, how spell Bertsinger?
Oh yes. Bert, so Bert, and then it's German, so SCH, and then Inger, so Bert Singer, but it's the SCH for sing.
And so that way, then they get to the right place. Well,
Yeah.
Sara, we appreciate your time. We want to wish you the best of luck. We know it's in God's hands, but it sounds
Awesome.
like that the people from your district have an opportunity to elect a great representative to the state legislature, an opportunity to make some change, an opportunity to provide opportunity and hope and freedom. And let's pray that they make the right decision and send you up to St. Paul.
Thank you, Sam. This has been wonderful. Have a good day.
You can find out more about the show and other information. Just go to our website, radiowarp.com. That's radio, WARP, radiowarp.com. You can find us pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can also find us on YouTube. And again, if you want more information about Sara and what she's doing, but you kind of get lost where to find her, send me a message at twostepsaheadpodcast@gmail.com. And I'll put a link into some of the social media stuff that I have as well for this interview. So that way you can get directed to her information and find out more about her. So with that, we'd like to say, thank Sara for joining us. And for those of you listening, hey, thanks for listening. Do tell a friend. And until next time, God bless.